If there are landmines, if there are tripwire explosives, I will be the one who steps on them first. In essence, what the point man was saying, I will lead if you will stay in my path. If you will literally, footprints of Jesus, if you will literally put your feet where you've seen that my boots have been, you will remain under my protection, because there's obviously no landmine where I stay. But how often do we get outside, arrogantly and pridefully step outside of God's plan? I don't want to follow him. I don't want to follow the rules. But then when Satan kind of has his way with us, beats us up for a few rounds, who are we mad at? How come you let this happen, God? How come you didn't protect me, God? That would be as silly as being mad at the point man, right? If you veer off the path and then say, how come you didn't find this tripwire over here? I said, look, as long as you stay on my path, you are under my protection. Sometimes we leave our point man, Jesus, we don't follow him on the path. It's the same verse. It's the next verse that we read a moment ago. It's 2 Thessalonians 3. There's also verse 4. But what we read earlier was, but the Lord is faithful, and he will strengthen you and protect you from the evil one. Verse 4, it kind of qualifies a little bit this protection. We have confidence. Paul's writing and said, look, God's going to be faithful. God's going to protect you from Satan. You know why I know that? Because I am confident that what? In the Lord, I'm confident in the Lord that you are doing and will continue to do the things we command. I'm confident you're going to stay on the path. So I know that God's going to protect you. Number 2, God protects those on the path. The application, stay on the path. God protects his people. God protects those on his path. Number 3, God protects for his purpose. You may be saying, well, David, I know people who've been on the path and you have to be so careful judging, so really watch out for that judging heart. But you know people who, the fruit of their lives just shows faithfulness. You know people like that I'm talking about. But they're not immune from struggle. So, well, David, does that mean that there's something secretive, but they're harboring some secret sin? Well, sometimes, but not necessarily. Because not only does he protect those who are on his path, he also protects for a purpose. He protects his people, he protects his path, he protects his purpose. See, God doesn't protect just to protect. If he does, he's failing. Can we admit that? He doesn't protect just to protect. He protects for a purpose. Specifically, God protects someone until their purpose has been completed. Maybe more accurately, more biblical way to say that is, he protects someone until his purpose has been completed in you. How many great heroes of faith can we name from the Bible? You think of Noah and Abraham and Moses and David. Even in the New Testament, you have John the Baptist, you have the Apostle John, the Apostle Paul, Peter, James. How many of them are still alive today? None. How many of them were protected until they completed God's purpose in their life? All. Now, if your purpose in life does not match God's purpose for you, not only are we stepping outside by our choice, our faithfulness, our faithlessness, not God's faithlessness, to step outside of his plan and outside of his path and outside of his purpose, so we're therefore outside of his protection, we're also just going to remain incredibly frustrated. Because we're going to be swimming against God's will. And God has said, my will come. Now there's lots of details there. I'm not comfortable saying that God is God in control. That's kind of a question we ask sometimes. And when I'm asked that, I kind of pause. You probably would think, I would say, yes, of course. I would say, well, it depends what you mean by that. You mean, is he sovereign and ultimately in control and he will get his way in the end? Absolutely. But do I believe that he's in every detail? He's the only power at work? No, we know that's not true. There is another power at work. He sometimes gets his way. Everything that happens in detail, in the minutiae, or the minute detail, is not God's will. But ultimately, sovereignly, God will get his way. And you hear me wrestling with the two sides of that, right? God is in control. But we can't blame or blame every little negative, bad thing on him. Be real careful with that. Number 3, God protects for His purpose. The application, what do? Make sure you're living within God's purpose. See, God offers us full love and protection. Jesus said in Luke chapter 13, verse 34, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those who are sent to you. This takes a little bit of the context here. Jesus it depends if you read it out of Matthew or out of Luke, whether he's there in Jerusalem or he's just thinking about Jerusalem far away. But he's basically saying, Jerusalem was basically, allow me the latitude of this language, it's not technically true, but basically it's like the headquarters of Christianity, the earthly headquarters of Christianity, okay? If we translate it today, it would be him saying, oh, my people, God's people, Christians. Those of you who reject everyone that I send to you,